Imagine this. You're flipping through your family photos, and in every picture, a mysterious child appears, one who doesn't belong to your family. This is the chilling story of what happened to us. Stay with me as I unravel the haunting truth behind these photos. And if you love spine-tingling tales like this, hit that subscribe button and join us for more unforgettable stories. Moving into a new home was supposed to mark the beginning of a new chapter for the Miller family. Nestled in a quiet neighborhood, the house was a charming craftsman-style home with a picket fence, blooming garden, and a cozy interior. It was everything Emily and Jonathan Miller had dreamed of for their growing family. With their 6-year-old son, Ben, and 3-year-old daughter, Sophie, life seemed perfect. The first sign that something was off came on their second day in the house. Jonathan, an avid photographer, was snapping pictures of the kids playing in the backyard. The golden hour light was perfect, and Sophie's laughter echoed through the yard as she chased Ben around the tree swing. Later that evening, as Jonathan reviewed the photos on his laptop, he noticed something strange. In one of the photos, just behind Sophie, was the faint outline of a child, a little girl with long dark hair and a white dress. Her face was blurry, as though the camera couldn't quite focus on her. "Emily, come look at this," he called, his voice tight. Emily walked over, peering at the screen. "Who's that?" Jonathan shook his head. "I have no idea. There was no one else outside." Emily laughed nervously. "Maybe it's just a trick of the light or a glitch in the camera." Jonathan nodded, but he couldn't shake the unease that crept over him. Days turned into weeks, and the Millers settled into their new routine. Jonathan continued taking photos of Sophie's tea parties, Ben's soccer games, and the family dinners they often documented for their photo albums. But the girl kept appearing. Sometimes she was in the background, barely noticeable, a fleeting shadow. Other times, she was more distinct, a figure standing by the window or reflected in a mirror. She was always expressionless, her dark eyes staring straight at the camera. Jonathan stopped showing the photos to Emily, not wanting to alarm her. But late at night, he would sit at his desk, scrolling through the images, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. One afternoon, as Emily folded laundry in the living room, she overheard Sophie talking to someone in her room. At first, she thought Sophie was playing pretend, but as the minutes ticked by, the conversation became unsettling. "What's your name?" Sophie asked in her sweet, high-pitched voice. A pause. "That's a pretty name," Sophie said. "Do you want to play with my dolls?" Emily froze. She slowly approached Sophie's room and peeked in. Sophie was sitting on the floor, arranging her dolls in a neat row. "Who are you talking to, sweetie?" Emily asked, trying to keep her voice calm. "My new friend," Sophie said without looking up. Emily's heart skipped a beat. "What friend?" "The girl in the pictures," Sophie said simply, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. That night, Jonathan decided to investigate. Armed with his camera and flashlight, he went through every room in the house, taking photos. When he reached the attic, the air felt colder, heavier. Dust motes floated in the beam of his flashlight as he scanned the cluttered space. In the corner of the attic, he found an old wooden chest. Inside were faded photographs and yellowed papers. One of the photos caught his eye. It was a black and white picture of a family standing in front of their house. In the center was a little girl in a white dress. She was the same girl in his photos. Jonathan's breath quickened as he read the caption on the back of the photo. "The Harper Family, 1954. The next day, Jonathan and Emily visited the local library to research the house's history. What they uncovered sent chills down their spines. In the 1950s, the Harper family had lived in their home. The little girl in the photo was named Clara Harper. According to the records, Clara had gone missing one stormy night and was never found. Her disappearance had remained a mystery for decades. Emily's voice trembled as she whispered, "Do you think she's still here?" Jonathan didn't answer. He didn't need to. The activity in the house escalated. Lights flickered. Sophie's toys moved on their own. The sound of faint laughter echoed through the halls at odd hours. One evening, Jonathan set up his camera in the living room, aiming it toward the staircase where Clara's figure had appeared most frequently. He left it recording overnight. The next morning, he reviewed the footage. At first, it was uneventful, just the dimly lit staircase. But then, around 3:15 a.m., a shadow appeared at the top of the stairs. Slowly, the figure of Clara emerged, descending step by step. She stopped at the bottom of the stairs and turned to face the camera. Her face was clearer than ever before, pale, hauntingly beautiful, and filled with sadness. She raised a hand, as if reaching out, and the screen went black. That same day, Sophie handed Jonathan a piece of paper she had drawn on. It was a simple picture: a house, a tree, and two stick figures holding hands. One of the figures was labeled me, and the other Clara. "She says she's sorry," Sophie said softly. "She didn't mean to scare you." Jonathan and Emily exchanged uneasy glances. They knew they couldn't stay in the house much longer. Before moving out, Jonathan placed Clara's photo from the attic on the mantel, lighting a candle beside it. "If you're still here," he said quietly, "we hope you find peace." That night, for the first time in weeks, the house was silent. The Millers left the next morning, never looking back. But Jonathan kept one photo from their time in the house, a picture of Sophie and Clara standing side by side, their hands almost touching, as if caught between two worlds. And so, the mystery of the ghostly child remains, a chilling reminder that some stories never truly end. If you enjoyed this tale and want to hear more spine-tingling, suspenseful stories, make sure to subscribe to Goodnight Tales. Your next unforgettable story is just one click away. Sleep well, if you can.